And we are live, guys. Welcome to another live stream from the Women of High Value channel. My name is Joseph Darling. Today, we are going to talk about monogamy, and we're also going to do a little review of an amazing account on Instagram that you should go and absolutely follow. His name is Masculine Revival, Brendan Schmidt, and he is an inspiration, okay? And the reason why I wanted to do a review of him is I followed him just a couple of months ago, and he has a lot of really great posts about masculinity. And I wanted for us to delve a little bit deeper into some of his posts so that I can share the things where I disagree with him. Because when I promote something, of course, I agree with the vast majority of the stuff that he talks about. Okay, like 95% of it. But then you've got the foundational 5% that is so crucial to understand, and I hope that at one point him and I can see eye to eye on this. We obviously we've never discussed this, but where we can have an open discussion and where I can perhaps help him see the picture of why women need a high value man who they share. Okay? So on our channel, we teach about 3 in love, where 1 man, 3 women living harmoniously together, the women absolutely fired up outside their brain, being in love continuously and forever. And the reason why is because the man continuously takes the blame and he provides extremely well. And he understands female nature so that he produces the kind of environment that causes them to actually get along. Okay? So that's what we teach on the Women of High Value channel. Obviously, a lot of people disagree with our content, but hey, female nature is a very interesting one, and Masculine Revival and we can definitely talk about some interesting things. So let's just go through some of the posts. Men protect, men provide, men preside. Okay? Make gender roles great again. Monogamy is the new counterculture. We're going to go through those ones. Men are built, not born. Feminine, not feminists. Stop mothering him, etc., etc. Oh, he also has, there's no such thing as casual sex. Interesting. Becoming a man is supposed to be hard. Cut the bad boy bullshit. Oops, did I say it? Masculine leadership does not equal feminine oppression. Suppressing your emotions is better, etc., etc. Okay, so let's do the most interesting ones, shall we? How about we talk about first the aspect of there's no such thing as casual sex. Okay, this is going to be fun. In a hypersexualized and degenerate culture, many crave a return to something more pure and wholesome. 100%. Absolutely. Sadly, most don't come to this realization until they've done some level of damage to themselves by following the cultural narrative that sex is not a big deal and it's just harmless, cheap fun. So here we are, almost all of us having strayed at some point or another. Not me. Actually, I was a virgin when I got married, and I kind of feel that I can brag about that, okay? Because there's not many of us, right? And yeah, I did my best. Obviously, I wasn't perfect, but hey, I did not have sex before we got married. Honoring and respecting ourselves as young men and women. Our apparent sexual liberation has created a generation of addicted, emotionally scarred, and spiritually wounded individuals. Sadly, we realized the lie too late and gave something away that we can never fully get back. Innocence, purity, dignity, and honor traded for what? Born into a broken culture, you cannot fault yourself for having followed broken ways. That's true. If you didn't know, if you're ignorant on the subject, there you go. However, actually, as women, it's never your fault, okay? And I'm serious. I'm not being sarcastic at all. For those of you who've been around my channel, that's not a joke. It's never women's fault. Literally, if men didn't sleep with women and initiate sexual relationships with women, all women would be virgins until they commit for life. If all men kept it in their pants, women would not be sleeping with anyone. Why? Because women fear rejection. And the only reason why they eventually, over time, you know, if they become masculinized and they become initiators of sexual things, the only reason that happened was because someone initiated sexual relations with them a long time ago. And then over time, they become masculine and then they initiate things because they need it. Okay? Women, by nature, don't initiate things. They feel uncomfortable doing so. And rightly so. It's according to nature. So if men actually fix this situation, which we can, like, is it possible? In my opinion, from a worldwide global population aspect, no, it's not possible. But to get a few men, okay, that actually live according to a certain mindset and philosophy that we teach on Masculine Revival and also on the Men of High Value channel, yes, we can get some guys to understand so that it clicks in their brain that if they just keep it in their pants, at least they won't affect women's lives negatively in that regard, okay? Because that's where the damage happens. That's where the emotional scarring and the trauma and the sexual rejection happens for a woman. That she's scarred with very often for life, okay? Unless she actually finds a man who's able to heal her properly. And many men don't even know how to do that, so there you go. And as the saying so eloquently goes, you cannot grow up in the gutter without getting a little on you. This is about redemption, not perfection. It's called a revival for a reason. We're all reclaiming something that we lost. So, let's look through the slides. At this point, sexual liberation is liberating us from the dignity of being human. Okay? Rampant promiscuity, porn addiction, OnlyFans, abortion, destruction of families. Is this the sexual liberation? Okay. Are you looking for a real person or a unicorn? You can build a great life with a good woman, or you can waste more years mentally masturbating about the perfect woman. All right. I can see this as well. Did you know that for men, if they simply stop ejaculating, women become more beautiful? Like, women very often have lost value in men's eyes a lot of the time these days because of porn. That's a huge aspect, but also because they mindlessly and continuously ejaculate. 100 years ago, this was not the case. 150 years ago and hundreds and 100 years before, yes, did men ejaculate? Of course. But en masse, the way they do today? Nah, not at all. I don't think so. Most men in the past actually grew up not around naked women because there was religion in place. There was a fear of God and sin and all that stuff that was there. So men actually didn't ejaculate. So they weren't as hypersexualized as they are today. Because when you start that process of ejaculating all the time, for men, they end up becoming hypersexualized because it creates more pressure and they become hornier and they need it continuously all of the time. But it's a release that they need. It's not the fire of life that a horny man, like that a guy who's on ejaculation control and semen retention, the kind of horniness that he has is under control. That's the one that's good, okay? Being horny is fantastic as long as you're able to control it. But if you're horny and you can't control it, that's a problem, right? And that's what we see a lot in the world today. And this is one of the reasons why women, and very often men, falsely believe that men, okay, need it more than women do. They don't. If they practice semen retention, which most men don't. So most men actually do need it more than women because they're not living according to what they're supposed to do as masculine men. So let's keep going. The world offers you comfort, but you are not made for comfort. You were made for greatness. Absolutely. Almost everybody has watched and done things that they look back on and regret for one reason or another. This is the reality of where we're at. Man or woman, doesn't matter. We're all in this mess together. Absolutely true. There's no perfect trad life. There's just this life. Make the most out of what you have here and now. They call it progress, but they don't say where it is going. Interesting. The person that sexual promiscuity hurts the most besides yourself is your future spouse. Keep them in mind. I completely agree. And should I mention here a little bit about what I disagree with Brendan? He puts equal blame and responsibility on both men and women. And this is where I believe that things go wrong. Because the moment you put the blame half and half, okay, it takes two to tango. No, it doesn't. It takes one man to make or break a relationship, to make or break a woman, okay? Just one man. He can do it all on his own, okay? He can literally, if he knows how to create heaven for you, he can do it. And you won't actually have a choice but to follow him because he knows how to have you voluntarily follow him. Like, that's a good thing when he's a good guy, horrible thing when he's a bad guy, okay? And if you're burdened, you won't really have a choice in the matter. If you're unburdened, well, then you kind of have a little bit of a choice, which is great. And that's what we want to bring to women, is helping them to become unburdened so that they have a choice in their lives and that they have freedom in general, okay? Because the more burdened you are, less freedom you've got. So what was I saying here? There is no such thing as 50-50. Men are responsible, women are not. Why? Because men are leaders, women are followers. And that's how our nature works, okay? Which means that, well, doesn't the follower have some responsibility? Well, not really, if it's dependent upon environment, what she does. Okay, so women are way more emotional than men, right? So if intense emotions erupt in her, is she able to control herself? No. And if she did, okay, there are many women out there who are continuously disciplining themselves, for sure. And over time, what happens as a result? They become more manly, right? And women are bragging very often that they can control themselves better than men can. And yes, they can. However, this is very short-lived control. That's one. And number two, they're becoming more and more masculine as a result. Men, when they don't control themselves, they're becoming more and more feminine as a result. We're dual natures, opposite natures, okay? Which means that what's relevant for men very often isn't relevant for women. But it's up to us men to create order out of your chaos, so to speak. And it can be that negative chaos that you very often have, that can become amazing chaos. Like the kind of chaos, the femininity that men love. And the kind of femininity that you also massively enjoy. So just want to put that out there because, yes, we need to tell women that they, think of your future spouse. That's the one you're keeping yourself for. Absolutely. However, it starts with men, and in many cases, or in most cases, or in almost all cases, it ends with men as well. But yes, women, please join us. Help us to live a pure and chaste life, right? Not being a complete degenerate is the new counterculture. Okay, so very good post. I completely agree. I hope he also, doesn't have sexual relations before long-term committed relationships. Let's see. Feminine, not feminist. Okay, let's do this one. This one is interesting since we're talking to women. Here's the reality. Most modern women carry some degree of feminist programming. 100%. Environment, right? Born this way, raised this way, chose this way. The chose this way for women, not really there because they're most of the time burdened, which means that it's born this way and raised this way. Born this way happens as a result of your mother being burdened and masculine, meaning she was competitive, she was, got things done, disciplined, da-da-da-da-da. Then she's going to be masculine. As a result, burdened, and that's going to cause her hormones as a mother to be translated to you as the fetus, and that those hormones will work in you and create the foundation of your life, of your body. Fortunately, as you move out, okay, of the womb, and then you end up, going through childhood, you now are raised this way. So imagine if you're masculine, okay, as a fetus, burdened, right? And then you move on to your childhood, and then you have traumatic experiences that continue to cause burden on you, then you're going to become more and more masculine. The more masculine you are, the less you trust men, and the more feminist you're probably going to be, right? And then over time, you get your teenage years, and this is where you begin to make some interesting choices. And these choices are based on what you've been taught and what your environment is filled with. Okay, so if you're filled with douchebags and guys who are basically teasing you, mocking you, treating you bad, sexually rejecting you, etc., you're gonna not trust guys. And then if your dad has left or divorced your mother and then never talked to you again, or whatever happened in your childhood and teenage years, you're gonna have a lot of issues with traditional values. Unless you somehow manage to do a complete U-turn and find a man who's absolutely amazing, who brings you unburdened, okay? Your unburdened lifestyle. This is very few that actually manage to find that. So you're lucky if you found these channels and stick around. Make sure you subscribe and like. So what we need to do is to help women to get to that feminine aspect. And what I'm saying is the feminist programming is not your fault. It's not your fault that you've been a feminist or if any woman is a feminist. It's not her fault. It's based on her programming. And this is why we as men have to do our part to not educate, but to be amazing men. Okay, to be trustworthy men, to be honorable men, to be integral men, to be the kind of men that women need in their lives. And the more women see examples of amazing men that they can respect and honor, the more they'll be able to become open to surrendering to their future long-term committed partner. So, does this mean that you should opt out of the dating scene and swear off women altogether? Oh yeah, he's talking to guys here. I struggle to see how that would be productive or healthy over the long term. It is true. Men are kind of opting out of the dating market, kind of. They're not really, though, because they still want to sleep with women, okay? But there are some MGTOWs, which is men going their own way. But in general, there is, most guys are trying to hook up, at least, which is extremely difficult these days, unless they're learning game, which a lot of guys are, but it's just messed up. The dating market, man, it's messed up. Okay. I struggle to see how that would be productive or healthy over the long term. As a man, you can bitch and whine and complain about how messed up women are and how screwed up the modern dating scene is, and you wouldn't be entirely wrong, but really, who cares? A huge number of women who identify with some degree of feminist mindset have never been exposed to the potential of another path or the potential of an amazing man. Okay? You can't say, it should say everybody. But you need to understand that if you offer a clear and compelling path for a woman, many women will drop what they were doing to follow you. Absolutely. But it's not because of the path that you're presenting them. It's because you're freaking awesome and you're freaking hot and you're the kind of man that she's looking for, right? And all women have this programming before this world was planned out. In many ways, I believe that women were programmed to be the way that they are. So this programming to desire a high-value man who protects, who provides, who does what he says he's going to do, and who's honorable, integral, etc., and who's a leader, okay? Women have been programmed and designed for that millions of years before they were programmed towards feminism, okay? So women have that underlying aspect, which we're so grateful for, that they cannot control. It's your hindbrain, women, which is awesome, for good guys, so that we can actually bring you home, okay? That's what we need. So, gents, stop looking for a woman that is totally unmarred by modern feminism. Look for a woman that has feminine instincts. All women have feminine instincts. Some women are simply just more burdened than others. And yes, men go looking for women that are unburdened because they're probably going to do better long-term partners. In general, women that have fewer sexual partners are going to be better long-term partners. In general. Etc. Like, we can continue, go on and on and on, but it's not women's fault, and so men have to keep it in their pants at all times and all places unless they commit to you for life. A man who wants to provide for a woman and give a woman a space to just be a woman is a rare gift in the modern world. Absolutely. You guys are so lucky to have found my channel. Seriously. And Masculine Revival's channel. You don't need every woman to see that or to understand that. You need one woman who really gets it. Believe. No, I'm sorry, Brendan. You need 3 women that get it. But they won't, it's not that they'll get it unless they already have gotten it because they were raised by a father, which meant that they had the proper environment and they're kind of been prepared to receive a guy who's actually on the right path. Does that make sense? So it's the environment preceding that has helped the man or help the woman to be ready for a high-value man when he comes around, or the high value man actually manages to attract her in such a way that she tosses everything aside, her life philosophy, her religion, her everything, in order for her to follow that guy who's a good guy, trustworthy, integral, everything that he needs to be, right? In order for life to be absolutely flippin' amazing. Yes, that's what we want. Okay, and let's do the last one. Monogamy is the new counterculture. In an age of entitlement, people want everything for nothing, but that's not how it works. Sacrifice, loyalty, and commitment are the price of admission for security and stability in relationship to the opposite gender. And like I've said before, it's not women's fault, which means that this one is completely on men. Men are the ones who sacrifice, who are loyal, and who are committed. And guess what? As a result, if the man knows what he's doing, okay, the woman doesn't even have to think about sacrifice. She doesn't even have to think about loyalty nor commitment. It will be her nature. It is according to a woman's nature, when she's unburdened, feminine, and in love, to literally be loyal, to literally be committed, to literally do everything in her power to make her man's life amazing. Okay? She's designed and programmed for that. You should be grateful for that. Should be grateful for that as a woman, that you are a woman, because you can't control the goodness in you. You have so much good to bring to the world, and you just simply want a man to unlock your gifts and talents for you to be feminine, unburdened, and be free. Okay? This is what women need. They need freedom. And sacrifice and loyalty and commitment puts women in a box, in prison, of sacrifice, loyalty, and commitment, where she has to control herself. She has to control her brain. She has to do everything that she can to stay with this guy. Except for the fact that she can't do it long term. You can't do it long term if he's not living according to truth. And truth includes understanding your female nature so that he knows what to do in order for you to be obsessed with him, because obsession equals loyalty. A woman needs to know that her man understands. And most men don't. But if you've come to the right channel, to the right movement, this one, Masculine Revival, hopefully eventually will get it, the full picture. But in general, it's up to men. Men are the ones who have to sacrifice and be loyal and committed and understand female nature, so that women automatically sacrifice, are loyal, and are committed. Let's go. Order feels like oppression to those addicted to chaos. Order, masculine. Chaos, feminine. Okay? Men becoming feminine, chaos. Right? Women being feminine, actually amazing beauty, laughter, talents all over the place. Fun, okay? Bedroom is exciting, all over the place. What's not awesome about that? Okay, that's feminine, and we want women to be the ones that have chaos in their lives, and then the men produce the stability and the order when necessary, right? Or just in general, having that as a background. The cool part about order, and I'll talk about that, we can go through the next slide. Yeah, monogamy doesn't exist as a punishment or a form of oppression. It exists as a model for a man and woman to come together as complementary forces in each other's lives. I just wanted, before I go into the monogamy aspect, I just wanted to explain what a man's role really is if he is in a long-term, lifelong, committed relationship with women. His job is to give them freedom. That's his job. Freedom in what? Freedom to roam, okay? Not Rome, the city, but freedom to roam, right? And move about and do whatever they want to do, whenever they want to do it, as long as they're loyal and committed. But that's his responsibility, and they will be loyal and committed if he actually produces the right kind of environment. Which means that there's a huge boundary that they can't really trespass, which they won't even think about trespassing if he's providing the correct environment. Okay, so that produces amazing security for a woman, that I'm protected in the way that he's never gonna leave me. I'm protected in a way that he's responsible for anything that goes wrong. And I'm also protected and secure because he takes care of the money things, right? And it's his fault if he doesn't do that. and I'm able to spend whatever I need to spend when I want to spend it, okay? Which is an amazing thing. Now, obviously, there might be a limit in the beginning as he begins to exponentially grow his wealth, but that's a journey all on its own. The cool part about when a woman is in love, she doesn't have an empty void that she needs to continuously fill with new things that she goes on shopping sprees for. Women actually are quite conservative when it comes to their money when they're in love. They don't spend all over the place because they want to be looked upon highly by their man, okay? And the man, obviously, if he is wealthy, he's not going to care much about how much money you spend because he's just going to go out and make more. As a monogamous man, in a monogamous relationship, that's a problem. Because what are we going to spend money on? Because we don't have that much money and there's a lack of money and I don't have time to go out and make more money and you want me to be home all the time and blah, 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 and the kids need me. Okay? Monogamy sucks from an income production standpoint. 3 in Love absolutely rocks from an income producing standpoint because men are actually allowed and able to work 80-hour work weeks forever. For the rest of his life if he wants to. He'll probably maybe cut it down to 70, over time because he wants to spend time with you guys and with his family, with his kids, etc. And to travel with you and have fun, cool experiences. However, men are wired. Masculine men are wired to produce, to create, to work, to collaborate with other men and to find solutions to problems. And there's a lot of problems in this world, right? And the more masculine a man is, the more he's going to want to solve these problems, which means that his income, his net worth is going to exponentially increase and it will be impossible for you to spend all of his money because you're not wired to spend all of your money when you're filled with joy. When your cup is full with joy, there's no need to go and spend stuff, which is what is awesome in 3 in Love. Monogamy, not so much. But yeah. So monogamy kind of is a punishment, one, for a man, from the standpoint of not giving him the opportunity to fulfill his masculine potential of producing and of creating and of developing skills and becoming a leader, okay? It's very difficult for a man to be a leader when he's home all the time because that actually goes the opposite direction of leadership because he's becoming more and more of a woman when he's in the home all the time spending time with women and kids. All right? You become like those you associate with, and that's true of marriage and family. No offense to anyone, but that's just my experience. And but within the boundaries, though, like if men kept it in their pants, then there would be no. It's not punishment to women or oppression that you're not allowed to sleep with anyone. You simply wouldn't sleep with anyone if men kept it in their pants. So women might look at it as oppression, like monogamy, because of their feminist programming in the environment that they've had. But that's just because monogamy, the way it's set up, the way they've observed it in their own lives, from seeing their parents not working out, from seeing their father really being a bad husband or a bad father or whatever it was, from not trusting men because they've been slept with and left behind and all that stuff, monogamy becomes a really difficult thing for them to kind of follow. However, most women want monogamy. The general rule is most women want monogamy, but the voices of the feminists are screaming quite loudly because they've been very, very hurt in the past. So although they're fewer, way fewer than the majority of women, their voices are screaming quite loudly. So what did I want to say about this? Yeah, we'll keep going. But in general, though, it is a punishment for women. Monogamy is a punishment for women. And I'm talking about you will be monogamous to a man in 3 in Love, obviously, because you're not sleeping with other men. But you will have your 2 other best friends, so you're not really living in monogamy, but you are monogamous, if that makes sense. And monogamy, just monogamy in general, one man, one woman, that is going to feel like a punishment over time. Because you're being punished for doing the right thing. What do I mean by that? Well, you're supposed to have love forever. And yet, every single long-term relationship, the woman falls out of love. That's a problem. And that's a punishment because no woman should have to suffer through the the aspect of not being in love. Like, being in love is one of the most amazing experiences of life. Don't you want to have that continuously forever? If you can, and if you could, and if you understood the science behind it, or the man understood the science behind it, yes, that would be extremely nice, okay? So in general, yes, monogamy is a punishment, actually, and it's kind of oppressive since it is by law, okay? Like, you can't live 3 in love married. We have to cohabit in order for it to be legal, for crying out loud. So yeah, I actually think monogamy is a punishment and oppressive to both men and women, and for children, because children don't get the attention and love and nurturing that they're supposed to get from 3 mothers. There you have it. Total freedom in relationships with the opposite gender leads to destruction. We need boundaries, lines, and limits. Absolutely. And this is why I'm completely against boys and girls being in school together. Like, if you ask me, I prefer taking all kids out of school. Okay? I love homeschooling. That's really the way to go into the future, in my opinion. Because you're mixing boys and girls, and it's a very bad time bomb that explodes in their teenage years. And that's when total freedom in relationships happens, and it leads to destruction. In an age of entitlement, people want everything for nothing. But that's not how it works. Blah, blah, blah. The entitlement aspect, I think he kind of blames... Well, he blames both genders, I guess, because men feel entitled to have sexual relations with girls, okay, because they see what's going on in porn, and then they want their girlfriends to do it with them, and so they feel entitled, right, and expect certain things from women to do for them when they're not really being the kind of man that they're supposed to be. And also, they're sleeping around. Like, this is bad, right? So, men should not be entitled. That produces issues. But an entitlement is really a feminine trait in a man. And in women, entitlement is nature. Because you are supposed to be entitled, and you are supposed to receive everything just for being you as a woman. You are. The problem is that as a result of the environment that you've been under, you've become burdened, and when you're burdened, you're not really attractive to men. That's a problem for you in general. Right? Because you want to be with the high value man, but he might not find you attractive because you've become burdened and masculine as a result of the environment that you were given. So we've got to somehow change that, and you've got to do your very best to unfortunately use your masculinity to move towards femininity so that high value men will find you attractive. It's important. But in general, if we didn't live in the certain circumstance that we're in right now, women would be able to be entitled for nothing, okay? And receive everything in life that they desire because they're high value. And the reason why they're high value is because there's not much supply of women on the market. 3 in Love takes women off the market. When, it's just like Bitcoin. You take Bitcoin off the market, like guys store it, okay? So they're not selling anything. Then the demand for those remaining are, the demand goes up, which means that the price goes up. The value goes up on anything that is scarce, which means that women who are left, okay, when there is 3 in Love, their value massively increases drastically. And this is what we want for the world, is for women's value to increase. When women, unfortunately, sleep around, not their fault, men's fault, but when men are not living 3 in Love, they're living monogamy, which means that there's tons of people that choose not to get married. There are tons of people that choose not to be in a relationship with each other because all they know are monogamous relationships that didn't work out. And so people end up being single. And what do single people do? If they don't have sexual relations, they try to get sexual relations in quickies and in, short-term, whatever, friends with benefits type of fashion and hookups and apps and whatever's going on these days, right? That's a problem, and it lowers women's value immensely. Every single day, women's value is decreasing. The counterculture is not monogamy. The counterculture is 3 in Love. That's way more counterculture, in my opinion, Brendan. Okay? So if you really want to go counterculture, then 3 in Love is it. Monogamy, yes, is counterculture. Marriage is counterculture because it's traditional. But you know what's even more traditional than monogamy? 3 in love is. Polygamy is. Okay? Why? Because that's how 80% of all human societies have lived. That's the real tradition that we've moved away from, because women basically got so much power because men don't really care anymore. They just go about doing their own thing, and they leave all the world problems to women to take care of. This is why we have a lot of crap going on in the world today, because emotion is leading us when there should be men who are honorable and trustworthy, etc., who should be doing, picking up the slack and actually solving the real world problems that are happening these days. If men just stood up, eh? Okay, how can I get something without giving anything up is a question that defines an entire generation. You're betting against the odds when you try to live as the exception to the general rule. Generally speaking, you should strive to do the things that people have always done unless you have a very, very good reason to do otherwise. You know what they always did? Polygamy. But you should not start polygamy from the mindset of not understanding female nature. As a man, okay, and I encourage the young men who are watching this, do not involve women into your life. Live voluntary celibacy over a long extended period of time. Get coaching, understand female nature, so that you can be truly responsible and worthy. And for you women, never ever, okay, commit or join a guy in his weird whatever relationship thing he's trying to set up where he says he learned it from me. No, he needs a stamp of approval from the men of high value communities, the decentralized community. Men need a stamp of approval that they're legit. They have a proven track record that they've done amazing things, and that they're going to be truthful, they're going to stick around, they're going to do what they're saying that they're going to do, etc. So just wanted to put that in there, because what if women join the wrong guy? It's not a good sight. It's not going to be very good. Anyway. Relational norms aren't there to oppress, they're there to guide. If monogamy was good enough for our ancestors, why isn't it good enough for you? Well, it wasn't, actually. It never worked, actually. Although, you know what actually happened in monogamy? Women were repressed. Women were depressed. And women suffered because men very often had full control in the household. It was all on the man. Yes, a lot of men actually took responsibility. There was a lot of men who actually studied the Bible, stuff like that, etc. But men also forced their women to follow them, okay? And there was a lot of domestic violence and a lot of issues that we've gone through. There's a reason why feminism exists, and it's because of men, okay, if you didn't know. And so no, monogamy was never enough for anyone, and this is why we have the way the world is today. If monogamy worked, it would have worked forever, right? Truth is that which works, right? In the long run, in the big scheme of things. If monogamy had worked, then why would anyone be sleeping around? Why would there be promiscuity? Why would there be problems in the world? There wouldn't be if it was actually our design. Well, guess what? It's not. It's not according to our nature. It never has been, and it never will be. 3 in love, in my opinion, is the only thing that actually works according to our designed eternal nature. But I agree with him on this one. Being sexually conservative is the new counterculture. Absolutely. Only ever have sexual relations with the opposite gender, okay? And also whoever else. Only in lifelong committed relationships. Why? So that you can protect yourself, so that you can protect your heart, and that you can protect your femininity as a woman. It is crucial for you to remain unburdened so that you can get the life that you truly deserve and desire. I want to thank Brendan Schmidt for putting together Masculine Revival. I love following him. I check out his stories all of the time. You're absolutely awesome, Brendan. I just wanted to share my thoughts on it if you ever watch this. And thank you so much for watching, guys. I love doing videos for you guys. And I'll see you guys in the next one.